Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Good morning, Rob.
So, how's how's things in Broward County there, Mr. Kaplan?
They're going okay. No complaints.
How's the how are the new team members coming along?
Work in progress. Well, I think you're going to be in the office. Is it tomorrow or later this week?
No, I'm going to be there the 11th and the 13th.
Oh, okay.
So I'm coming. I think I'm coming down on Tuesday next week, and I'm
Got it.
there until the end of the week. So my I know we're at the early onset of this. I'm going to wait till a few more people pop on, but how's anybody do open houses this weekend?
Not this weekend, I didn't.
Yeah, we
How,
had one. Yeah, we had one.
how was the turnout?
It was good. It was good. It was in Wanacue. Andrew did it. Got 15 groups of buyers, probably two offers coming in, maybe a third.
And
So,
and any of them from the open house or from co-op?
um, one is Andrew's, the other two were well, other agents, but the agents didn't bring the people. The way we do it, Rob, is we don't show until the open house.
Okay.
So there was no traffic prior. So all the traffic was yesterday.
And two of the agents that are putting offers, they went there with their clients.
No, no.
They just sent their clients.
Yep.
Okay. And then you're honoring them, correct?
Yeah, we're pretty good about it. I think things
Yeah.
will change once the law changes. We might
So-
become like Garden State Realtors that try to steal people's clients, but we'll see. That's a game day decision. I really don't like that because I don't want it done to me. I don't think it's a proper course of action.
I agree. I think that although maybe there needs to be like a standard that if somebody doesn't go to show their house, that maybe there's a referral fee or something connected with it. I'm not sure where I land on that thought
Well,
process.
I think it's a gray area because of the original publication by NAR that an open house is the only place that a prospective buyer can go without a buyer's agreement. I know that Kim lost a client. Um, well, it was a high maintenance client. It might have done her a favor, but she went to an open house and they made her sign a buyer's agreement. We're not sure if it was Laura Gill or if it was Weichert. Smells like Weichert is something Jimmy would do.
Yep. So I have two thoughts here about the future for our team members, and the first one is, the open house, that safe zone that people are feeling is going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be more abundant than it is right now because people are not going to want to, there's going to be a learning curve where people are going to be afraid to sign those agreements and they want to kind of like be a free agent and work with whoever they want to. And open houses probably smell safe. We need to be able to establish, value. And then beyond that value, I think the conversation is, hey, Chopper, has anyone taken the time to sit down with you and go through what it takes to be a successful buyer in this market? And then beyond those words, we need to back it up with what it actually does take to be a successful buyer in this market, right? And what value that we drive to somebody relative to, our competition. Because I don't think our competition is thinking outside the box like we are. Um, some of the things that Brad and I are working to put together are, education based. Somebody who's, not feeling the urgency to buy, they can sit on the sidelines, and we probably have a trove of buyers that have sat on the sidelines since COVID, right? They were outbid a bunch of times. They didn't want to overpay. They're listening to 22 different people tell them it's not the right time, don't overpay, blah, blah, blah. They're getting anniversary cards from our first showing for the second and third year. and maybe a lot of them are even being abandoned. And if we educate, people on the trends in housing, right, that there's never been a decade where housing hasn't gone up more than 4%. Okay, there's only 3 years in the past 48 in New Jersey and Florida where real estate values have declined. Maybe it's 4 years, but one was so negligible that it's not even worth mentioning. And I'm absolutely convinced that people don't understand how math works.
We're gonna
Right.
be, yeah, we're creating a brochure. I know that from my past industry, that when you give out any kind of paraphernalia, it winds up in the garbage. But we're gonna be handing out more of an educational brochure, because look, going forward, just because just like a buyer, just because they have a pulse, and just like a buyer's agent has a pulse, now our buyer's agents have to differentiate themselves. And hopefully it'll be a value add piece that the buyers will latch on to.
Uh-huh. I want to try to find a couple of things that, and I think it's not the conversation, or it's not the collateral, it's the impact that we have, right? Because you're right, most collateral goes right in the garbage. I can just find this here and put it up on the screen.
Yeah, we're doing a brochure also, a buyer's guide to success. It's going to be simple, but it explains the process.
And how are you going to deliver that?
Through open houses, buyers that we do meet for the first time. We promote it also on our postcards in our farm area. So if any buyers are interested in viewing homes, they can either go to my website and order it. It's free, or we can send it to them by mail.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we do a lot of in-person conversations, because I think, where the heck is this? I'm gonna find this link here. Where did I put it? Folder, drive.
Yeah, ultimately meeting a buyer in person would be the best way, but we have alternatives.
Where is this? Well, so here's one thing I want to just share with you, which I think is, I think it's impactful. I think intuitively I probably know it, and I think a lot of people might know it, but giving our team members the process to handle it. Over here. Like even something as simple as this, right? What's the net worth of your average renter versus homeowner in different income ranges, right? To me, that's something that not many people are talking about. I think there's a lot of documents I downloaded. It was on my last mastermind. Let's see, that 28th.
You got a few emails there, Rob.
Too many, I know, right? Mastermind.
Made my chest hurt.
Yeah, right. Oh
Is that what they mean by anxiety?
my goodness.
It's a lot, right? It's kind of like I just go fishing stuff out of there instead of mastermind 24.
That's a heart attack. 103,000.
Here. So even has anybody like worked on role playing your buyer appointment with your team members and put something into a dialogue, a conversation?
All the time.
Yeah, we have a script that I just drafted over the weekend. It doesn't quite involve the commission discussion yet. Right now, it's just like really honing down on what their motivation and urgency is. And then, you know, as our team perfects that, we'll introduce the conversations about commission, especially as things progress with how the industry is changing, but we're not quite there yet fully.
Okay. And I just think that's like a listing appointment. When you don't nail that listing appointment, you leave so much money on the table. And I think maybe it's here, market resources. You know, like showing somebody, if somebody asks one of your team members, you know, what's the, you know, I'm a little nervous, you know, home prices have gone up like a lot, you know, almost 50% since COVID. You know, I think I want to wait. You know, what do you think home prices are going to do? How do they answer that question? What if they say, what do you think? What if they say, Nira, what do you think home prices are going to do?
I say that what you're purchasing here is a long-term investment. So, you know, when you are considering what home prices are going to do, you have to think about it over time. And my go-to response, whether it's with sellers or buyers, is the market is simple. It's simple economics, and the market is controlled by supply and demand. And there is a very limited supply, you know, so that supply is going to increase value over time because demand isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And if interest rates decrease or adjust a little bit, that's only going to create more demand and more of a frenzy.
Right.
So, you know, obviously the message is better to get in now than later.
Rob,
I mean-
I say, hey, are you a Marvin? When they give that question, I go, are you a Marvin Gaye fan? And they'll go, I don't know why. And either they're young and they don't know who Marvin Gaye is, and I have to explain it, and I crash and burn. Or the other is I say, you love me now or you love me later. Either way, you're going to love me, but you're going to love me now or you're going to love me later. You're going to love me now if the rate stays what it is and prices go up, and you're going to love me later if the rates go down and you're locked in at the price that you purchased at, right? So love me now, love me later.
Yep. So if you were to, and Glenn, you and Niren probably are going to have no issues getting through any of these conversations. But if we can make it, you know, repeatable and duplicatable so that our team members can do it. And, you know, if they were to work 2 open houses a month, and I don't know, Chopper, how many people did you get to your open house?
I just go by groups. So we had 15 groups. Individually, I don't know. Was it 40, 50 people? I don't, you know, sometimes you get a tribe, sometimes you get a couple. But so we just, if anyone's a buyer and they come with 8 people, we consider it as one group.
Right. So, but if we can get our, if we can educate them without giving them, you know, Glenn, the prices are going to go up or down. You love me now or love me later. But if you say, hey, you know what, you know, there's a lot of data points out there as to what housing is going to do. And, you know, over the past 48 years, housing has averaged, you know, appreciation of 5.5% in New Jersey and 5.3 in Florida. You know, and there's never been a decade where housing's appreciated less than 4%. You know, what would you feel comfortable assuming housing's going to appreciate at? Right. And you have that where it's not like a salesy driven, it's more of an education base. And then you can take that data point and share with them stuff like this. Let me just, you know, like these charts, like, you know, home price forecasts. You know, here's what the professionals, you heard of Goldman Sachs, Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers Association, Zillow. We take the average for the remainder of this year, it's 2.9%. If we look at the forecast for the next 4 years from those entities, and I think Glenn, you use KCM.
Live by it.
Okay, so you take KCM and you say, hey, one of the big data aggregators is giving me information. I don't know if you've seen this before, which, they haven't. But here's the forecast for the next 5 years. And, if they can first learn themselves that, you buy a house for 400, which is probably, very, very low in both New Jersey and Florida. Probably it's more significant in most cases. In the period of 5 years, if they put down 5% or 10%, they put down 10%, excuse me, they put down 10%, 40 grand, they have a 200% return on that 40,000. Right? Because the house appreciated by 83,000, they put down 40. Now, I think if we don't educate the buyers, that we're not going to win. And this chart here, this is so true, but how do we commit it to a conversation that people can understand? If right now rates are at 7 to 7.5 and demand is weak based upon interest rates, what's going to happen when it gets down below 6.5 or below 6? It's going to be strong, and you're going to overlay that with the housing shortage. People are going to be more uncomfortable meeting you then, right? So I think if we can educate them and change the narrative from opening the door and showing them the property they want to see to, getting them to sit down. And when I talk to people about this, you know what the biggest challenge is that I hear? What do you think the biggest challenge I hear is? Nobody?
Fear? I don't know, fear.
A lot of people, they don't, well, what if they don't want to sit down with me? What if they don't have time, right?
Right.
And you know what? Is it 1 out of 5 or is it 4 out of 5 that won't sit down with you? Whatever that number is, but there's a percentage that will sit down with you. And if, Glenn, if you're getting 1 out of 5 and you're getting 4 out of 5 or vice versa, it's something that we're communicating that's getting us to that outcome, right? And, there are some people that we don't want to work with. When we educate them and they choose to be, we use the term ignorant, we have choices, right? We sit down and we decide if we're a good fit to work together. And this is not for us. This is for, our team members on how do we give them the tools. And I don't mean the physical tools. I mean the skill tools to be able to stand out amongst a very, very crowded business, right? Where, I think the consumer, feels threatened that they're gonna have to sign more paperwork, right? And they feel like, hey, what if the seller doesn't pay me a commission? Then I have to write you a check. And if you can't answer that question, right, or if you have apprehension about it, I think we're going to put our team members in positions where they're not serving the buyer, because, buyer, in my opinion, needs to know, hey, if a seller's not willing to pay for it, then yeah, you do have to pay for it, but I'm worth it. And I'm going to share with you why I'm worth it. I'm going to, share with you how I can get you into the house. And if there's a seller that is so stubborn that they don't want to offer any type of a compensation, we're probably going to get it for a significantly lower price because the demand is less, right? So, and I almost feel like we, maybe there's even a way that we can all role play, and maybe we can try to get our team members up to speed, as a group, instead of having, 50 team leaders trying to teach at 50 different times. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Information is power.
I'm just like, I see is Mr. Durso, and I see Bobby Golden. You're on, right? Bobby Golden?
Yes, Rob, I'm here.
So, I spent some time with Philip from your office this weekend, door knocking, and I think, he's somebody that, he's a piece of clay. He needs to be molded, and he needs to have our signature on him on what to say and how to win. right? And I think that we have a lot of people that are lost, and they need us to give them that formula so that they can have the confidence to convert. You know, what do you have, 27 in your office now, Bobby?
I believe that's pretty accurate. I didn't want to cut you off. Phil helped me out with an open house.
And,
Yeah.
I would say,
Hold on.
I mean, in this in this market there's a decent amount of inventory. So if you have a straightforward cash offer, I would say take it and move on. It's and
All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, unmute yourself, Bobby. I think we had some background.
That's okay. So what I want to let you know about Phil, so we had an incredibly active open house yesterday in Somerset. It required 2 people. Phil helped me out. I think he did a great job. He's coming into the office tomorrow. But pretty much what you just said, Phil understands that, but he's smart enough to say, hey, I need help. I need somebody to walk me through some of this stuff. And I'm really, really encouraged with just his effort and his desire to get better. So I think he's going to be okay.
But with 27 people, it's a Herculean task, Bobby, for you to do that one-on-one with all of them. I mean, it's virtually impossible.
And I would agree, but we're just talking about Phil. So out of the 20 right
Yeah,
now,
and I wasn't being critical. I'm just saying, like, I think if we could find a way that we can, provide the highest level of content for Phil to be able to have the confidence and the content to share with clients without the fear of losing somebody because they're saying, hey, we need to sit down and talk about how this is going to look, right? And if somebody is not going to take the time to sit down with us and learn how to be successful, it's either we might need to refine our communication on how we're positioning the meeting, right? And then, once we have the meeting, if you're getting 70% buy-in and, somebody else is getting 30% buy-in, it's the confidence, the content, it's the composure, it's the presentation that we have that drives the outcome, right? It's not a random, unlucky event. Maybe if we all had 3 buyers, maybe luck would play into effect. But if there's 33 buyers, you own your outcome, right?
okay.
And if there's a way that we can, get your whole team in there, Bobby, at one particular point in time, and you have to role play and present the material, and the first person that needs to understand and buy in is they need to understand the material, inside and out, right? What they say, it's one thing, most agents know what's going on. The better agents can explain it. The great agents can teach it, right? And now, ironically, we need to teach it to our clients in order to be successful, helping them become homeowners, because the math does not favor them, right? There's 4 million to 6 million home sales. There's a lot more buyers. There's probably less, we're probably going to be bouncing along the lower end of those numbers because people don't want to leave their interest rates. And, home construction is not keeping up with demand in almost every market. So, we need to, not be a door opener. We need to not be an obedient buyer's agent, taking them from house to house and, saying, do you like this one? Do you want to make an offer? Part of the dialogue I was talking about with, I think it was with Phil, I might be mistaken, walked with a lot of people this weekend, but, when you go to buy, has your agent ever shared with you, how properties are behaving, in your local marketplace, in Woodbridge, homes that are going under contract in 10 days or less, they're selling for, 7.4% above ask price. They're going under contract in 5.2 days. those are the things I think we need to be educating them. And, by the way, on top of that, Bobby, I'll take a look at the listing agent and see if they have tendencies to underprice or price their homes auction style, so that at least you'll have that information when you're formulating how you want to make a bid. Would that be helpful for you?
Sure.
So those are the things that I don't think we, communicate to our buyers. And I think, virtually every one of us on this call probably can get over that, or historically has gotten over that. But we need to take it down a level and make it duplicatable, that our team members can, take an open house list. And if there are 8 people without a committed relationship with a real estate professional, then we ought to know what our numbers are. They should be able to get 3 or 5 sit-down meetings. And if they get 3 or 5 sit-down meetings, we should know what percentage of those should wind up in buyer agency agreements being signed, and how long it takes to convert that from a buyer agency relationship to an under contract. Right? It's not dependent upon, it's not like this buyer is destined to have this outcome. We have a tremendous influence in it, just like somebody who lists the house with a lousy agent and a good agent, their destinies are different. So I think if we have this process, we know our numbers, we educate them, and maybe, having a way to educate them, individually as a team leader, and reinforcing it with role playing and content that, they can put up on a screen. I mean, to me, a person putting 5% down that's going to have triple, is going to have triple that equity in 5 years is something worth talking about, right? Or 10% down would triple it, right? 40,000 down would get you $83,000 of appreciation in 5 years. That's huge. Sharing with them, like, I didn't even know this until I did my research. And I don't know if any of you ever knew this, but like this piece, did anybody ever even think about having data like this? And I think this might have even been, Glenn, is this KCM, or did I find this somewhere else? But it's somebody making $250,000 has a $2,100,000 greater net worth when they become a homeowner.
Sorry, I was muted. It is KCM.
That is KCM?
Yeah.
I mean, this is pure gold, isn't it, Glenn?
Yeah. At one point, Rob, like, we're halfway there, right? Like our I don't know about everyone else, but we have a lot of buyers that do business with us. Probably 60% of our business is still buyers, even though there's a lot of listings. And we're halfway to the point where this is no longer optional. And I had someone call me from the Remax event, and I had said to them, like, man, if you're not ready, like, now, when are you going to be ready? Like, I was just, and that's the same that I've said with the team. Like, we have mandatory requirements for people to be on, because this is no longer optional, right? Like, you have to be on the trainings for this. And I just look at it, and we're like 70 days away, and we're 70 days past that. Man, if we're not doing it, who is?
But I mean, I have my feelings about, like, the whole settlement, and I think I'm, a little bit jaded by the whole way it came about, and the attorneys seem to be the really only beneficiaries. Nobody's getting any money back, right? So I have my thoughts about that. But what I do think is that this has forced me to revisit the whole process and to redefine it. And I think this can, and Glenn, we talked about, like, when you give out your whole tech stack and you share with everybody at that event, what a treasure trove of information that is. But we also talked about how few people will actually implement it, right?
Yeah.
So,
One of the agents was arguing with me about having $39 for KCM. I said, don't get a latte this month. Like, are you out of your mind? Like, $39 on the best information source we've got?
if you spend 15 minutes, or an hour trying to replicate it, it's not even going to be a fraction of as good as the KCM is, and you're wasting your time. But I guess that kind of defines the mindset, Glenn, and it limits where they're going to be, right?
It does.
But can you see, in all honesty, like, do you see how this can truly be like a benefit, even if it's not a structural benefit to us by the change that happens, right? Maybe more people go to listing agents, and I'm looking on Zillow and I'm seeing people saying I'm representing myself
Yeah.
on Zillow leads coming in. So maybe that part's not great, but I think, you know, that we're gonna create separation between ourselves and the rest of the industry, because we're here at 9:02 on a Monday morning thinking about how we're gonna serve our team members and give them the resources and the tools to become more successful than they were. You know, I'm listening to some Zillow calls that are coming in. People are getting some of our Zillow leads, and the calls are going well, but the outcome isn't there. So I'm thinking that we need to break down the process and figure out why are they not, you know, connecting at that level where, you know, the client finds them irresistible as opposed to having to chase them. And, you know, I wish, you know, I could share with you all the times when the word ghosted, either implied or non-response, like people are ghosting you, and it's not because, you know, they're bad people. I just think it's they used you to open a door, and they didn't see any implicit value beyond opening the door on 4:30 on Saturday. And, you know, your team members are making sacrifices, because I can hear when they're taking the calls, like they're changing their plans to go show a property to somebody who's not committed to them, and then they're getting ghosted. And it's going to be predictable unless we change the narrative. And, you know, if you say, hey, has anyone taken the time to sit you down and share with you what it takes to be a successful buyer in this market? And the person says no, then they're going to come to you, Glenn, and say, hey, Glenn, you know, most people say they don't want to sit down with me. Well, change the way that you communicate it. And if it's one out of 3 that sit down with you, let's get that to 4 out of 5 that sit down with you. Then let's look at how effective that strategy is. You know, I'm stealing stuff. I have no pride. You know, Tom Toole talks about like that first appointment being a buyer strategy session, right? That's what sitting down and sharing with you what it takes to be a successful buyer in this market is. It's a buyer strategy session. Okay, it's not a waste of your time, and it's a waste of your time if you don't have good content or you can't communicate the content, right?
Yep.
So anyway, that's my. I'm working with Fred this week. I'm putting my neck on the line that I'll have that document by Friday's mastermind, an online like a Zoom, not a Zoom book, but an online buyer consultation book where we can embed video into it. Not designed to be sent out via email. It would be capable of doing that, but I want this to be something that gets presented, you know, face to face, and you can read their reaction, you can read their body language, you can figure out how you can, you know, help them go from a home buyer to a homeowner. You know, very small pivot in a word, but very significant life change. And if somebody knows the cost of waiting and they understand all the other facets of delaying the process, I think they're going to move quicker, and I think they're going to be grateful. And, you know, how many of us have a buyer that, you know, probably felt uncomfortable like bidding, you know, 3%, 10%, 20% above ask price, and now you go back to visit them 2 years later and they're absolutely ecstatic, right? And I don't know, Glenn, was it you who mentioned that on the mastermind? Like, hey, now you have an extra $140,000 of equity. How you feel about it? Was that something that you had mentioned?
Yeah, it wasn't that big of a number, but yes.
But I mean, like, those are things that, you know, when you follow up with somebody and say, hey, you know, I just was thinking about you. It looks like your home's appreciated about, you know, 72,000 in the past 12 months. I hope you're happy. You know what I mean? Like, kind of doing a little bit of a victory lap, but you're also then saying, hey, who else can I help? Right. And then that doubles down on your commitment to, you know, having a better conversation with your next buyer. So stay tuned. I'll let all the team leaders know on Thursday if that presentation is ready for prime time, and maybe you can just encourage your team members to show up on the mastermind on Friday. All right. And if you have anything to add to it, just, you know, text me privately, because, you know, my inbox is a little full. All right, anything else, guys?
No, that's all.
All right, appreciate you. I
Thanks.
appreciate you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Bye-bye.